Hello, Year 12. Just made a little recording on some of these slides to try and help you. This is a new topic, torts connected to land. It's called Rylands and Fletcher because it is named after the case of Rylands and Fletcher, which was a long, long time ago in 1868. Now, the definition you can see there is basically a person's property is damaged or destroyed because the person next door to them had some non-naturally stored material which has escaped and caused damage to the person's property. So we have got four elements in this tort, and all four elements must be present. If one of them is missing, then we don't have a Rylands and Fletcher, and the defendant will not be liable. So four things we need. First of all, the defendant must bring something onto their land, an accumulation, something which is not already there. In the case of Rylands and Fletcher, it was a large amount of water. The second thing is that this accumulation is likely to cause mischief, an old-fashioned word for damage, if it escapes. Thirdly, we are not using the land in the natural way that it was intended to be used. And finally, it does escape and it causes reasonably foreseeable damage. Okay, and that brings us a little bit into the region of wagon mound. Is the damage actually foreseeable or not? So all four elements were present in Rylands and Fletcher. Now, what happened in that particular case was a large amount of water was brought onto the site because we wanted to build a reservoir. A large volume of water can do damage if it escapes, and the type of damage would be flooding. Water storage on that particular land was considered to be a non-natural use of the land. He wasn't converting a lake or something that was already there. The water did escape and it caused considerable damage to the claimants. Okay, so if we go through one at a time, the substance, as I say, must be brought onto the land. If it's already naturally present in the land, then there is no liability, as you can see from those two cases. The second thing is that the accumulation is likely to do a mischief or damage if it escapes. We're not testing whether the escape is foreseeable, but the damage that is likely to be caused. Gas, electricity, poisonous fumes, tree branches, things that are likely to do damage if they escape. Now, we have got two cases that I want you to read there to contrast. Now, hopefully you've read those two cases and you can see what the judge is trying to say in Stannard is that the tyres were naturally stored in a garage. That's where you'd expect to find tyres. And secondly, it isn't the tyres that have escaped. A fire has escaped, but not the tyres. Tyres in themselves are not likely to cause any damage if they escape, and certainly not a fire type damage. The sort of damage you would expect if a tyre came rolling towards you is that it would squash. And so for those two reasons, the judge overruled the original trial judge. So when we're looking at natural use of the land, things which are automatically there, such as our domestic water supply, electrical wiring, gas pipes, things like that, you'll see in the next few cases. If you look at Transco, that's the most recent case of Rylands and Fletcher, 2003, which is 18 years ago. The same reason that other cases had failed, the water pipes were considered to be a natural use of the land. Now, the important thing about the Cambridge water and the Eastern County leathers is that the storage of materials was considered to be a non-natural use of the land. This was so nearly successful. The first one, had they got an accumulation? Yes, they had. Accumulation of chemicals. Secondly, are chemicals likely to cause mischief if they escape? Yes, they are. Thirdly, was it a non-natural use of the land? Yes, it was, but it failed at the final hurdle because the court considered that the damage wasn't foreseeable. the chemicals seeping through the floor and getting into the water table below, and actually getting through, concrete and then earth and then seeping into the water table was not foreseeable. Now you can see we have a number of defences here. Volenti, which we know is where you consent to the thing. Here you consent to the thing accumulated. We also have contributory negligence if you have contributed towards the item escaping. I think the others are quite straightforward. Defence of a stranger and an act of God. Now this is a difficult to prove for the claimant. You've got all sorts of things in there like this non-natural use of land. So the easiest way to try and defeat the claim is to show the use of the land in question is natural, as they did in Transco and many others. It must be the item that escapes. You've got the same Reed and Lyons, but you could also use Stannard for that as well. Foreseeability of the type of damage was also successful for Eastern County Leather. So we can see here that we've got 2 successful cases and an awful lot of unsuccessful cases. Now there have been arguments for Rylands and Fletcher to be abolished. On this slide we have all the reasons for why it should, and on this one for all the reasons why it shouldn't. Now that is our final position. Okay, so we need to know for our AO1 those 4 points. Okay, an accumulation of a substance which has been brought onto the land. Remember, it is a non-natural use of that land. It's likely to cause mischief if it escapes. It does escape, and it causes reasonably foreseeable damage. Case to go with each one. Okay, Rylands and Fletcher is your obvious one. Stannard, I would say Transco because it's the most recent, and any one other that appeals to you.